So let's start with this session about D7 as D8. This session, what we want to show is how we can use Drupal 8 code patterns in our Drupal 7 project and how to improve and learn from that. Most of the code and the things we are going to show here was made by a team, by Mateu from Rulabot and me, Pablo López. I work for BlueSpark, and here are our Drupal.org and Twitter accounts. As you can see, we're so smart to choose our nicknames because they are a bit complex bots. But so mostly in this session, I came to talk about my module. We created a bunch of modules related to Drupal 8 and how to implement it. So let's start with a small history of how all this started. All this started in DrupalCamp Amsterdam. Mateu was excited about the plugin session, and he thought that it could be a good idea to use the Drupal 8 plugin system in Drupal 7. So he was thinking about it, and some months later, maybe at the end of this year, I needed some kind of that for a project. So I asked him, okay, what happened? Did you do that? So no, so let's do it. And we started to work on that, and finally we created all this. Why we did that? We have some motivations. We wanted to learn about Drupal 8. We did some Drupal 8 coding before, but there are a lot of things in Drupal 8 that we needed to learn, and it's difficult to be up to date with all the changes in Drupal 8. So we wanted some kind of motivation to continue learning there and improve our coding skills. We also wanted to experiment, because this is theoretically, this is something that is not think about for. So these things are theoretically designed for Drupal 8 but not for Drupal 7. So we have some kind of take Drupal 7 to the limit. And also there is some other things like not waste time and effort from our companies or us, because sometimes if you want to contribute to Drupal 8 or whatever project, you have to do it in the weekends, out of the work, or if your company is sponsoring you to do it, also the company is wasting kind of money. So in this way, we can use all that expertise and all this while we are working for our companies. And other thing is just have fun, learn and improve the skills. This is not new. There are more people trying to do similar things. There are some modules we are using to support the work, like Xautoload, to support PSR for our PSR 0 autoloading, Composer Manager to load libraries, Service Container to create a container for all the service in our Drupal 7 projects. And also there are some people writing blog posts, like we have Previous Next has a series of blog posts about how to implement things in Drupal 7 as in Drupal 8, and this other post from Pedro Cambra. And why we decided to start to work with plugins? Okay, plugins is one of the key components in Drupal 8. There is a lot of things that are plugins. For instance, feed types, entity types, image effects. Even in Drupal 7, there are a lot of plugins. Maybe we are not conscious that we are using plugins, but mostly all the things we can define with a hook, whatever info is a plugin. So there are a lot of plugins. And also one of the things, and we want to test, is that D8 plugin system is Drupal agnostic. If you open the Drupal core folder, this folder lib Drupal component is kind of different components we are using in Drupal 8, but are not a specific Drupal 8 code. It's just plain PHP code. It is used by Drupal 8, but you can extract it and use it in wherever. So we wanted to try to check if that's was true or not. And also there is a lot of problem we can solve with plugins about not only with Drupal, but with all the things we are working in a modular world in Drupal, so each module can provide different plugins for another system. So plugins is a really powerful tool for all the Drupal devs. So we started with this kind of basic plugins, but then we had more ideas about other things we could do with plugins. So we created the plug family of modules. Basically, the plug basic architecture is like a packages package created from the Drupal 8 source code. So just copy and paste the Drupal 8 code I said before from Drupal from lib component folder and just create a package in packages to download it. Theoretically, all these components will be released as separate package when Drupal 8 will be done, but at the moment is not yet available. So when it will be available, we will move and remove all these repositories. Also, download and register all these packages to be available for Drupal code via Composer Manager module. Composer Manager module reads a composer file and downloads all the libraries and enables it all the dependencies. And also, plug module just prepares some kind of glue code to make all this working. So it registers the PSR4 namespace for the classes using the xAutoLoad module and creates some basic classes to just extend it and have all our plugins working more or less out of the box. We have two different plugin discovery types. This is exactly like in Drupal 8 because it's just the same code we are having in Drupal 8 but exported to Drupal 7. We can define plugins based on classes. Sorry. Each class has a kind of annotation to define the plugin to be discovered, and we only have to put this class in the necessary folder. In this case, is the namespace, so it's Drupal plugin example .plugin.company. So the folder should be just in our module plugin example should be src plugin company, and we pass there the class Acme, and automatically it will be discovered by PSR4 and the auto discovery from plugin system. And something similar with YAML-based discovery is for other kind of plugins where all the plugins had more or less the same behavior, and we only have one class for all the plugins. So we can define different plugins using a YAML file and a single class for all the plugins instead of a single class for each. So we have how plug discover plugins, and now we are going to talk about the plug family. One of the first things we thought about was fields. We use fields almost every day and create custom fields, and there is a lot of things you can do with fields, and it's something basic. And when you try to create more than one field in the same module or so on, it's kind of complicated because you have to create some weird ifs inside and so on. So we wanted to create it using plugins, so you can also take inheritance between plugins and field types. So we have field types, field widgets, and field formatter as plugins, and it's really easy to create and extend. Just create an annotation as we saw before. And plug config is another module related that it creates the same concept as we have in Drupal 8 of config entities. It tries to emulate it, creating Drupal 7 entities that can be exported using features, for instance, or just with plain code. This is very similar to C2's plugins, but it has some difference because it is object-oriented plugins and not a yet .inc file with a config array and some functions about to use callbacks for config forms and so on. And actually are entities, are real entities. We have all the advantage of using entities in Drupal 7. We have entity load, we have all that stuff provided out of the box with entities that C-Tools plugins don't have. And also related to that, we worked, mostly Mateo, in other module called typed entity. Sometimes when we started to have different entity types, different content types, we tried to create this kind of functions. My module preprocess image. My module preprocess page, whatever. So this kind, when you create one, it's okay, 2, 3. But sometimes we have a bunch of functions that are doing mostly the same and are not sorted out. So we can use this kind of code to use that, wrapping all that functionality in classes, a different class for each entity type, even a different class for each bundle. You can define typed entities even at bundle level. So we can have the same function, can have different logic for each bundle. So it's a very lightweight module. It's just a couple of classes, and it's very useful to complement plug. And you can reuse code, and it's easy to pass objects using inheritance. It's easily testable using PHP unit, and also it's easy to maintain. Finally, this is theory, how we design, how we thought about all this stuff. And the typed entity is how we define it. So you have the class in our namespace using xAutoload module, type node article. So you have, we have this pattern. We have typed, entity name, bundle name. So when we are working with a node of bundle article, it will load this class with this functionality. If, for instance, if we create the type node page, it loads automatically the other class and all the methods implemented there. So when we want to use it, we just take the node and create it. It's just kind of similar to how we create entity metadata wrappers, but it provides all the functionalities. And you define this kind of function. For instance, get related articles, read entity reference field, and loads all the node reference there. And for each reference node, it loads the image field and get the image URL. So it's easier to read and easier to maintain code that create a lot of different anonymous functions in a .module file. So we started to do that in a kind of project that allow us to test this. It's just for a small company in Valladolid that this does kind of fundraising for non-profit companies, but it has a very complex logic about how to create invoices for all the colors, because there are a lot of bonuses and penalties depending on how many people they convince to invest money in the non-profit and so on. Currently, they have for about 50 colors, they have one person working 3 or 4 days a month just for prepare the billing. So it's kind of need to work. So what are the main points of this project about what are we talking about? We have different plugins for the different calculators we are using for each color. We have some custom entity types. We are using a repository I created called Entity Boilerplate, where you can just use an example entity, just renaming a couple of things. This morning, Salva presented a different tool that does this automatically. It's really cool. And we have a lot of custom fields for each bonus and each penalty for color. So we use plug field a lot in this project. So here is the field diagram for this project. We have 7 field types, depending on what. depend from contract field, that is kind of the generic field to attach to a contract. For interfaces depending on the kind of field type, and some extra features defined in each field type to calculate the bonus or the penalty. So remember, we are using a class to wrap each field type. So we not only have the field types and the necessary methods to define the field type, we also have different functionality specific for each file. So when we want to calculate each bill, we call the file the field type, sorry, and it provides you the calculated amount automatically. And it is wrapped in each class. It's not a lot of code messing around in different files. Yes, you can do it in a single module file or in a different, and probably if we don't have this kind of tools to use this object-oriented and using our plugins, probably we will find another approach to do it. We use this approach with all these field types just because it was the best using our tools. In other case, maybe you have other options, but in any case, this code is complex, and this code is sorted out in each class, so it's really easier to maintain that everything in a single module file with a lot of if inside each hook related in each field info related hook. And let's see a bit how we are working on this. Okay, so mostly we have the project. Okay. As you can see, Twister contract folder is the module where we created all the logic related to contracts. As you can see, we have this folder structure similar to Drupal 8 code, using PSR 4 code to auto-load classes, so it's not necessary to declare each class in the .info file of the module. And we have the field types. You can see there is a lot of things there, but each field type doesn't have so much things to do. For instance, we have this one where we are defining the field type using annotation. It's just the plugin with the ID, the label, description, default widget, and default formatted. This is more or less what we are using in a hook field info right now. And then we have just one method in this class. We have this specific logic to calculate the bonus value depending on the number of colors of the user we are talking about. So it is easy to maintain, and if we go to the parent class, is where we have more logic about the field structure. Here in contract field, where we have the default instance setting. This is very similar to Drupal 8. Schema is defined here, and the instance settings for everything is defined here in this base class, and all the other field types are inheriting all this code. So it's not necessary to rewrite. We are reusing a lot of code, and it's very easy to maintain. If we want to make any change, everything will be reflected in all the classes, taking advantage of the object-oriented programming here. This is about field types. We also have some kind of not only field types, we can also use this to define views plugins. This is just using X-Autoload module. You can use this structure to store your views, custom views plugins instead of put it all together or similar in dotting files. Just you can use and keep all the things in its own namespace. What else? We have PS4. We have also the libraries. We are using Composer Manager module. This module takes care of download from the Composer file, defined in plug module. Where we just inform that it has to download this library, and automatically when you run Composer, it downloads the libraries, and all the classes are available thanks to autoloader. So here in Composer, libraries is downloaded all the necessary stuff to keep this working. So we are using Composer, we are using generic PHP tools to download and to maintain our libraries instead of custom Drupal things. So this is very useful to know about how other things are happening in the PHP world out of Drupal. And for now, we have this, and we have other kind of custom plugins for billing and so on. And here we have in the other one, here is where we have some kind of the code of the repository of entity boilerplate, where you have all the entity, instead of files, we have all the entity code separated in different files in our different namespaces, using all these to get all the things sorted out and very easy to work with. And about plug-config allows you by default just to create this kind of form to create our configurations. Is using the entity API code, so it's just the similar form we have for for creating a node type or custom entity type. But to use it, we only have to, in this example, we have our class code. And we don't need to do anything else than this. To get all that things working, we only have to define the plugin here with the annotation, where we only define the ID of the entity type, the label, and the path where we want to find this configurable, the configuration of this. And this is almost all. We only have to define the schema, where we define that we can store a text, the task we have to perform in that day, for instance, and define what we want in the form. So when we come back here, if we want to add a config del, automatically we only need do it automatically. This is saved as a new entity. This entity can be exported via feature and all that configuration. And that's all for now about this and this channel. Why we love this, why we did that, and we think that this is a good way to continue and to invest our time, because of maintainability, because all this code is much more maintainable than the code that we usually write in the standard Drupal 7 way. And we also had fun learning new things and how we can solve new problems using different things and discovering how things are going out of Drupal, because sometimes in Drupal 7, we have a lot of stuff that we are reinventing the well again and again, and there are things out of Drupal that works that we need to use, and we are doing that in Drupal 8, so maybe that's a good way to learn about how Drupal 8 is doing things and try to apply that good practices to Drupal 7. And also we think it's a good way to be ready for Drupal 8 when released, because we are dealing with Drupal 8 code while working with this. We are working with D8 patterns like annotations, YAML files, kind of composer files, object-oriented code, use of namespaces, use of PSR4. We are using a lot of things we are going to need to use in the future, and we are doing it now, and we are doing it in Drupal 7. We are not waiting for Drupal 8. We can start to do Drupal 8 project, as Christian said before, but most of us, we are not yet available to work on Drupal 8 in our companies. And also because we work in a team, we learn together, and we give back to the community all this code. So I think at least some of us were interested on this kind of things. And we think that is the really important thing, to contribute, learn together, and help other people to do this. And conclusion is almost the same. Open your mind, don't use always the same, try to find new things, try to find new ways to do your work every day. That's, in my opinion, the best way to avoid to be burned out in your work, because if every day you have to write the same hooks in Drupal, it's great, but you can be burned out in your work. Find it, try to innovate, try to improve your skills, and of course get out of the Drupal island and let's see what's happening around, and try to apply it in your Drupal project. Maybe in this way, another way, but I think it's necessary. And of course, be thirst for knowledge to be better developers every day. And these are some kind of Drupal modules we use here, repositories for the things we worked in. Thank you all for all this, for your attention and your patience. That's all. If someone has any question about, we can talk and discuss. Yeah.
Did you experience any performance degradation or improvement when using this on the project?
Not so much. We don't have a real benchmark about performance, and also this project is not so big at the moment, because we only have data from 3 or 4 months in the database, but not especially, because you can think that all that PHP code can be can be cached using the APC or all that things, and I don't think we have a great overhead in performance. Something else? Okay, yes. In that case, thank you, and see you here in a minute in the Spanish Drupal Association Assembly. So, thank you.